more estrogen relative to the testosterone levels. So in that sense, women tend to be more emotional. And when you're in a relationship with the guy that's just as emotional as you, then there's
Yeah.
this butting of the heads, right? You again, like we always talk about that you guys need to complement each other. There needs to be this balance. It's like a yin
Right.
and yang. You can't have like two sides be the same because they will oppose each other. It's the same
Exactly.
way as like polarity or
Magnets.
magnets, right? So
Yeah.
positive and a
Go.
all right. Welcome back, everybody. Usually we do this in the mornings, but we're in our room, so you can't really tell if we're doing it in the morning or the night. Today we're doing it a little bit later due to the fact that Michael's, killing himself over there trying to finish off his finals with final projects and all like that. But yeah. So quick disclaimer. This is just
Hmm.
a conversation between me and Mike. This is for entertainment purposes only. Don't take anything that we say with any sense of seriousness or anything. Just take it for what it is. And if you think it applies to you, then give it a shot. And if it doesn't, then forget about it. And that's it.
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome back, everybody. It's a new week. Yeah, I thought it was over. It is not over. Here we are again. Some of the topics for today on personal development is going to be being stoic versus being emotional. Well, I'll definitely see how we can argue about that topic. It looks interesting. Fitness is running a good form of cardio nowadays. We always talk about cardio. It's one of the things that I don't really like to do, but
Mm-hmm.
is running a good option?
We'll
Stay
get
tuned
into
for
that.
that. Yeah. And finance, PDT, pattern day trading. We're gonna define it. We're going to explain it. We're gonna see how we each of them kind of challenge or face it or work
How do you
around it.
overcome it? Like, what is it? What can we
Exactly.
do about it?
Because
Okay.
I have been flagged. I don't know about you, but I have been flagged.
Same.
Yeah.
A couple of times.
Uh, it happens to the best of us.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All
Mm-hmm.
right. Without further ado, let's jump right into the topics. Being stoic versus being emotional. What did you mean?
All right. So I came up with this one. So it's an interesting dilemma, right? So we live in an age, and again, we'll tailor this more towards guys simply because we're guys, and that's what we identify as.
Hmm.
Nothing wrong with identifying with anything else, right? But just for the sake of this conversation between us, right? So
Hmm.
as society has progressed, and in the day and age that we live in today, one of the things that's pushed upon men is to be more emotional,
Hmm.
to kind of speak about their emotions, let out their emotions, because due to just a long history of not being emotional and being more stoic, or that is the perception, men kind of have this internal trauma because they never release anything. And that's the narrative that is pushed upon us. So we're told that you should be more emotional, you should speak about how you're feeling, um, and just generally try to be more emotive. It's the same as
Hmm.
emotional, but just be more emotional for the
Or
sake of
maybe
being
more
emotional.
more empathetic, I would say.
I wouldn't even say empathetic. It's just being
Hmm.
emotional, displaying your emotions. If you're angry, be angry.
Hmm.
If you're sad, be sad, or display that.
I
Crying
might
in
be
public, right? If
might
you
be
feel like
crying.
somebody did you wrong, you immediately go after that, so as to not let that build up and have some sort of
Mm.
resentment or some sort of just trauma lingering around. There's definitely
Right.
something to that. Right.
Definitely. So I actually had to look the word stoic on Google. So I might just read the definition for everybody, and for those
Mm-hmm.
that don't are not familiar with this word. So stoic means a person who can endure pain or hardship without showing their feelings or complaining. A member of the ancient philosophical school Stoicism. All right. So
Mm-hmm.
just like you explained it, so being a stoic is being like
It's literally
being
the opposite of
collected.
being emotional.
Exactly. So being, a straight face all the time, regardless what you're facing, regardless the hardships that you're going to or through, or even, if you're feeling comfortable or you're feeling sad or depressed. And I actually read that, men usually tend to be more depressed than women. So it's kind of interesting because by looking at a man, you usually don't think about that. Like instantly, you don't associate a man being, very, very emotional. Things are changing nowadays, of course, but yeah. So what is to say about it? Um, in my opinion, I feel
From your
like
perspective, yeah, what do you think is like should men be more emotional nowadays?
mm, I don't know. I'm not very emotional. That's the thing. I think
Okay.
I'm a bit like I'm in the middle, but I lean more towards the stoic. Like
Hmm.
I can be going through some shit, but there's people like specific people that I decide to open
Right.
up to. But and that's the only people that has seen me like emotional, get to the point emotional. But to the rest of the world, I'm a fucking broke. Like
Yeah.
that, I don't give a shit. But so I don't give a shit. But at the same time, I do have that set of people who I can talk about like certain things.
Hmm.
You know?
Hmm. So
So
yeah.
wait, can I finish this
Yeah, yeah,
sentence
yeah,
really
go
quick?
ahead, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
I feel like growing in a different societies also has a huge impact because I grew up in Ecuador. In Ecuador is man, you had to be macho, you had to, and especially I grew up surrounded with women. So, and even though I was the youngest, I always aimed to like protect them.
Mm.
Ever since I was a little kid, I used to like be that jealous type of brother. And I remember if my sister used to go to a party, my mom will send me with her so I can protect her. And I grew up with the mentality, and I was the youngest, but you know, um, so I feel like growing up with the mentality made me realize that I shouldn't be emotional, bro. I've been living with my dad since I was 11. I never opened up to him until recently, like, and he had to take me some like some shots to do so because there were some anger, there were some emotions that I had towards him that I had to deal with and I had to confront it. But it
Mm.
took me that long to open up, and that's why I think that's some of the reasons why I think I push people away in my life is because like that kind of mentality, like I said, or kind of like
Mm.
personality I have. But
Mm.
being emotional, there's nothing wrong with that. I had cried. uh I'm open about that. Now everybody has seen me cry, but like, yeah. What do you
But you
think?
have those emotions.
Yeah,
No, for
I
sure,
feel everybody
for
feels.
sure, for sure. So like, listen, there's always again, like you said, your culture kind of influence you in a
Mhm.
certain way. That's
Right.
how. That's everybody. Their upbringing influences them in a certain way. And I would say that one of the things that is probably problematic is being overly stoic, being
Hmm.
overly not emotional, just completely being an absolute robot and a rock. At
Mm,
certain times, I feel like the way you're going about it is a good way, where you pick certain people to open up to because you trust these people. You understand that they have your back, and regardless if you call them in the middle of the night, they'll pick up, or
right.
they'll pick up in the morning and they'll immediately get to where you need wherever you are. So I feel like at a certain point you have to balance it because being overly
Hmm.
emotional is a problem. Because then, from a certain perspective, it's you being too vulnerable, and a lot of people can take advantage of you because of that.
Hmm. That's true.
Simultaneously, if you want to bring this into more of like a dating scene or dating perspective, um, it's I wouldn't necessarily say that it's all women, but I would say a majority of women are more emotional. They tend to be more emotional than men, and you could say that's due to the fact that they have like different hormones compared to us or different
Hmm.
levels of hormones, so more estrogen relative to the testosterone levels. So in that sense, women tend to be more emotional. And when you're in a relationship with the guy that's just as emotional as you, then there's
Yeah.
this butting of the heads, right? You again, like we always talk about that you guys need to complement each other. There needs to be this balance. It's like a yin
Right.
and yang. You can't have like two sides be the same because they will oppose each other. It's the same
Exactly.
way as like polarity or
Magnet.
magnets, right? So
Yeah.
positive and a positive, they repel each other. Positive and
Hmm.
negative, they combine. That's the balance that you need to find. And to that end, I would
That's
say that. Go ahead.
no, no. Go ahead. Go ahead. Finish it up. It's
So
just like a good idea came to my head, but go ahead.
cool. All right. So again, with being stoic and emotional, I would say a majority of the time, you definitely don't want to just be overly showing your emotions,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to pick a certain group of people to open up to,
To
because you
trust.
do have emotions and you have to express them. Otherwise, it kind of gets bottled up. And like,
Yeah.
take resentment, right? Like you bottle that up, and eventually it kind of just pops off at some point, and it doesn't end up being good for anybody, especially
Mm-hmm.
you.
Yeah, that definitely. You're because it's you know you're feeling it, and because you're going through it, you're the only person that can help yourself when it comes to dealing with anxiety, depression, and stuff like that. Now,
Hmm.
one really good thing, let's say, for some sort of history in your life, you don't trust people, or you don't have the that person that is not going to judge you regardless of what. Right, like writing is really helpful. Like especially, let's say it's like the middle of the night and you overthinking about something. If you write it down and then you read it, you're gonna laugh about it like a few days
Hmm.
after, because you're
Hmm.
like,
Hmm.
damn, I was feeling this crazy. Now I'm here. Nah, it's really
Right.
good. But going back to what Randy was saying about men and women, definitely you want to be a little opposite, but we can dive more into the topic in another day,
Hmm.
because I can argue that you guys can be opposites, but at the same time share common interest.
Of course. Yeah,
Like,
that's basically where you're gonna find like a really solid relationship where
hmm
there's the ability to kind of be complements or opposites to each other, but also have similarities.
right? Yeah, because if you are too opposite in that, like in the core values, in your core, it's the same
No,
thing.
that's
It's
a
not gonna
problem.
work. Yeah, that's a
Yep.
problem. But we should definitely talk about that a little bit more.
Yep.
And what else? Oh, okay. So yeah.
Yep.
So if you are a very emotional guy, that is fine. Trust me, that is absolutely cool. And there's going to be that woman who is not that or that very emotional that's gonna compliment you, so you're good.
Yeah,
And the
for sure.
same thing goes around. Yeah, that's how it is, to be honest. And
So
like the
saying a
energy.
majority,
Right.
that doesn't mean it's everybody. It's just a majority. Now, if you're the
Yeah.
kind of guy that's more emotional, you got to find a woman that's less emotional to compliment you.
Yeah, because exactly, you complement each other. It's the energy that you guys vibe on. But yeah, other than that, I think majority of time, being a stoic is beneficial, but you have to know when to open up, and you have to know when to let yourself feel, because else you're not gonna confront things that maybe you're just putting it like a stuck in there, like in the back
Yeah.
of your head. So
Sure.
yeah.
I would say like be really strategic with it, right? It doesn't even have to be
Yeah.
just guys, right? Women have to do this as
Oh
well.
yeah,
You
absolutely.
ha-
That is
you
true.
have to be able to understand where and when it's a good idea to open up and when and where it's a good idea to kind of just like keep to yourself,
hmm
be on an even playing field, look at everything. Like imagine being in a situation where like there's violence going on, right? And then you start acting really emotional,
hmm
and then you get caught in the middle of that because
Right.
you weren't able to kind of just suppress your emotions, be neutral, and understand, okay, I got to get out of this situation. So let me just like get out of here, right? Like walk
hmm
away, run away. You start getting emotional and you start getting in the middle of it. Like, let's say your boyfriend
Right.
starts fighting somebody or whatever the case may be. You need to be
hmm
able to rationally think in these situations. Otherwise, it kind of just escalates and snowballs into something that's worse.
Exactly. And remember that the thing that we talk about, like striking first. You never want to strike first because uh you are kind of leaning with your emotions. For example, let's say somebody is like kind of like trying to fight you, right? If you throw the first punch, you already lost, because you are driving. You're being drove by the emotions rather than your critical thinking, or like
Controlling it,
or controlling it, exactly. So yeah, definitely emotions play a huge role in everybody's life. Everybody feels. We're humans. We're human beings.
of course.
That's why we're here. But yeah,
If we weren't,
emotions.
then we'd be robots. And we're getting to
Exactly.
that point with AI, but we're not
True,
there yet.
true, true. And also, another important thing: emotions doesn't necessarily mean bad. Like emotions is not just being sad. It's not being angry. It's also being happy. It's also laughing. It's, that the good emotions. So if you can feel those emotions, you're good. You know what I mean?
Oh, there's one thing that that I just remembered as well. So, in order, like, So there are people, right, that kind of have mood swings and to that nature.
Mm.
And they're people that kind of get really invested in the highs and they get really invested in their lows. So the thing with life is that it's always like a
It's a
parabola,
roller
right?
coaster.
Or it's not a parabola. It's what is it? A sine curve or
Roller
a
coaster.
cosine? A roller coaster, whatever.
Oh yeah, sine curve. Okay,
Sine,
you're
right?
going with the
Or
more mathematical. Yeah, yeah. Sine or cosine. Yeah.
mountain valleys, right? There's always going to be
Mm-hmm.
ups and downs. There's no way for you to just stop having ups and downs because then there's no
Yeah.
contrast, so you don't really know what's good or bad. So these ups and downs, you can't really get overly attached to them, especially at the very
Mm-hmm.
top, right at the apex, simply
Right. Right.
because there will be a swing in the opposite direction. And if you get too invested in one, then when the other happens, because it will happen, that's where your emotions start betraying you because you
Mm-hmm.
start becoming really depressed and really sad and thinking that this will never end. And vice versa, you start thinking that the good times will never end. That's
Mm-hmm.
not true. So you have
Yeah.
to balance that with being stoic in the sense of like, listen, good times are here or bad times are here, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're here to stay. It's just kind of a roller coaster and you just got to ride with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's something to say about like people who gets too invested on these highs, because that's when you start kind of seeking for these highs all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and you tend to like go into substances and stuff like that to get the
Yep.
high. For example, a
Yep.
smoker, the reason that a person smoke is because that small high that they feel the first time that they smoke the cigarette.
Yeah.
There's something about say about that, but also yeah. So if you are the person who also like this tarda disorder is called bipolar disorder. If you guys are not familiar, like you go too high but too low. So if you have that, if you feel like you have tendencies about it, we'll definitely recommend to consult like a psychologist,
For
somebody
sure.
that you can just talk and just let it out, because that's
Mm-hmm.
actually a um, serious cases.
Yeah,
Cool.
there's definitely it's not just even being bipolar. There's other conditions that are less mild than being bipolar, but still,
Hmm.
it's getting overly attached, like seasonal depression.
Right.
That's a thing, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people experience that. Uh,
Hmm.
Generally, being depressed, that's another thing. So again,
Nah.
like
Look at
situations
me,
like this, what happened?
bro. Look at me. I went all night, no sleep. And here I am. I'm just happy to be here.
Just chilling. You just want to go to
Just
sleep.
chilling.
That's
Yeah.
what you want to do.
Like, yeah, I want to take a nap. But anyways,
Yeah.
but yeah.
So yeah,
So just
in
control the
situations like
emotions.
that, control your emotions, but also like do go consult some sort of medical
Yeah,
help
definitely.
because situations like that do require it. But yeah, well, I think we should probably move on because we're getting a little
Yeah.
too dragged on here.
Okay. Boom. Yeah, we can definitely divide this topic into more other into subtopics. But let's jump into fitness now. As a person who don't necessarily do too much cardio, is running a good idea? This is running is still good nowadays.
Right.
My
So,
opinion, if you can avoid it, there's alternatives better than running. But
but
what do you have to
I
say?
would say that
Mm-hmm.
running is the kind of cardio that we've done for almost millions of years of evolution. So if you suck at
Mm-hmm.
running, then that's kind of a problem that you might want to
Right.
fix because it's something that we've evolved to do,
Mm-hmm.
and in some form or fashion. Again, we've talked about it in the past, but exercise is a form of stress relief.
Oh yeah,
And
definitely.
right, so to that end, running does come that has some sort of stress relieving component to it that other exercises don't actually have.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Usually they talk about like a runner's high, right?
Right.
So that isn't necessarily just due to the fact that you're running for a long period of time. You can find that with other cardio forms, but with running specifically, it kind of triggers a more of a hormonal response. I believe it's what's it called? I cannot remember the name of the thing, but
You failed your exam, bro.
um endorphins,
Oh,
dopamine,
endorphins.
something like that.
Dopamine is the.
Yeah. So it releases endorphins, so you start feeling better or start feeling good, even after you're running for a while and you feel like you're exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
So when these like that thing gets kind of bumped up a lot more when you're running relative to
Mm-hmm.
other cardio forms. So that's one thing. Again, going back to the fact that this is something that we've evolved to do. That's another
Right.
reason that's why you should at least be decent at running. I'm not telling you that you need to go be a marathon runner or a sprinter, but at least I would say, be able to run a mile within 10 minutes, 10 to 12
Yeah.
minutes. Should be able to do that. A lot of people, nowadays sit down for a long period of time. This is a good way to kind of contrast that from sitting down to going to be able to run. That would facilitate all those muscles that you're not using while you're sitting. You're using them and you're engaging them while you're running and walking. So I would
Hmm.
say that's a good balance with that. And I mean, besides that, I would say all of the cardios are good forms in terms of just trying to condition your heart. But
Hmm.
at a certain point, this becomes a habit, and it's a good one to kind of just maintain. And also, usually you do running outside, which kind of gives you exposure to the sun, gives you more vitamin D, gives you more fresh air. Other types of cardio that maybe you would do indoors at a gym might not. But you have biking as well, so there's another thing.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I feel like it's a good thing if you're somebody that has maybe knee issues or conditions with your joints that prevent you from running, or if running is an issue, then obviously you have alternatives like biking. That's really good.
Hmm.
Or rowing. You can go row in a body of water or something like that. So there's definitely different methods. But I would say if there's no issues, I feel like running is a good thing to be able to do from time to time.
No, yeah, definitely. I don't say that it's not good, but if you can find an alternative, something that you enjoy doing it, I'll definitely encourage that. Now,
Mm, mm.
the,
Go
go
ahead, finish
ahead.
that. Finish the thought.
No, I was just gonna say that. Um, nah, I lost it. You can go.
So here, if you're somebody that hates running, I would definitely
Mhm.
suggest you run simply because you're doing something that you really do not like, and you're
Eh,
kind of you're building this habit of like, regardless of like whatever the situation is, I'm doing something that I don't like and I'm
mhm.
improving at it. That kind of helps you
Okay.
reinforce a narrative of like, it doesn't matter if I'm good or not at this thing. All that matters is the fact that I'm consistent, and over time I will see progress and become better,
Okay.
as
Yeah, I see
opposed
where
to
you're going with that. It definitely, something like that we always mention is that these skills, like things that you applied on fitness, they transfer on your daily lives. I see where you're coming from. I think it's a good advice that right there that I need to take up onto. But yeah,
I
right.
mean, you don't like it, and that's fine. Don't get me wrong. If you don't like it, if you can
You
find
know,
alternatives, go for it.
no,
But I would
I
say,
mean, I have done it.
yeah, yeah,
I
you have, and you've done biking too, and you've liked that as well.
absolutely.
So,
Um, oh, no, I was just gonna say, like, if you are the person who plays a sport, then you're already doing running all the time. And if you don't want to do running, but you still want to do like a really good cardio, walking is another way option of cardio as well, and it's not as as challenging.
doesn't condition the heart as well, but it's definitely a good form of cardio, especially
Hmm.
if you compare that to just sitting down. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, I would say again, if that's not the type of cardio that you don't want to do, I would say maybe
Hmm.
try for like 3 months. Just put yourself on a little running routine for 3 months and just see where you end up. Just see if like maybe if after 3 months you actually end up liking it for some reason, or after 3 months you're like, I still hate this thing, and then at least at that point you have a
Right.
objective perspective of like, okay, I've done this for a long enough period of time now to know that I really don't like
Hmm.
this thing, and but I would say
Right.
also pick and choose the things that like are challenging to you that you don't like doing. Like really be really specific about these things. Like running is a really specific thing. That
Hmm.
way you can kind of contrast that with the things that you do like doing in your life. So hypothetically, just stick with the realm of exercise, right? You hate running, but you like lifting, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I feel like that's a good thing to kind of have balance, simply because when you do your running, you hate it. But when you do your lifting, you're going to love it a lot more, simply because you're doing something that you hate. Again, that
Correct.
contrast, the ups and downs, the valleys, and the mountains. So I feel like that's a good reason to do some running as well.
Okay, definitely. I will add it to my to do. Right now it's cold, so I had to go to the gym to run. But let's not get carried away by this topic. We agree that running is good for you, not just for your health, but also can be transformed into
Your
other
mental.
skills. Yeah, also in your mental. Correct. It's a sort of. I feel like a lot of people does it for meditation as well, which is really good.
Yeah. Again, that's a runner's high. Once you get into that flow,
Oh
boom.
yeah. I remember when I was running like almost every day. I used to get to the point that my legs were running on its own.
Yeah, right. You're just like
Yeah,
literally like your body's behind you and your legs are in front of you.
yeah. It's an interesting feeling, but okay. On the fitness section, on the fitness aspect,
Finance,
what?
finance, finance.
Oh, Jesus, yes.
Damn, bro. You see, this is what happens when you
I
don't
know.
go to sleep.
On the finance, PDT. PDT stands for pattern day, uh, pattern day trader. My brief understanding of what it is. Well, actually, no, it's not just my understanding, but it is
It's
this.
what it is.
Is what it is. Is for those traders. So there's a limitation of trades that you can do on a marginal portfolio. Else you get flagged as a pattern day trader. So what it means is like if you have an account less than 25K for most brokerage, for Winwood is 25, right? You
Yeah, for
get
everybody. It's 25 for everybody.
yeah, okay, that's for everybody. Good. So if you trade more than four times
Three.
within, no, it's four times. Wait,
No,
so it's
three. After three, that's where you get a call or where you get a restriction. No, you get a
oh right,
call. And
right.
if you do it again, then that's when they will
You get
liquidate
that.
your account.
Okay, good. Yes. So well, on the third you get a warning. On the fourth you actually get flagged as a pattern day trader, and this is going to happen within a period of 5 days. So if you don't trade, I mean, if you trade within 5 days, more than four times, you get flagged. Now, what it
Hmm.
means when you get flagged, you cannot trade. That's all it means. They're gonna
You can
kind of like,
buy
yeah, you can buy, but you cannot trade. You cannot sell it.
the same
But
day.
mhm. No, you cannot. You cannot.
You can
Yeah,
sell.
yeah,
So
yeah,
like
yeah. You
if
can
you
sell
get
it, but like the next.
if you get flagged and you buy and then you sell like the next day, that
Hmm.
works. That's not considered a day trade. But
Oh, that's a swing
and
trade, right?
yeah, it's a swing trade, so that's fine.
Hmm. Good. Yes. So I got flagged this before when I was just starting. I didn't know, but
Hmm.
this only is when you have a marginal account.
Hmm.
So now there's two different types of accounts. There's a cash account. Oh, there's a cash account and there's a marginal account. So marginal accounts are pretty much money. Okay, so you have the money in the bank. You have the money in there in the brokerage, but the time that the trades execute, it usually takes about 2 to 3 business days. The brokerage lends you the money, so like the equivalent to the money that you had, and you can keep trading and you can buy and sell. Boom. That's
Hmm.
a brief description of marginal accounts. We can dive into this a little bit more on another day. And then we have the cash account. The cash account is your money, so you don't deal much with the brokerage. What you do is you have to wait in order for you to sell or to buy. You have to wait that the cash goes back into your account. Now that's that type of account that I have because I like the control that I'm not overbuying or overselling it, and
Hmm.
I'm not gonna get flagged as a pattern day trader.
Hmm.
Good, because you cannot, because you can literally then they won't let you buy it because you don't have the funds. But yeah,
Right.
so how can you overcome this? What measures have you taken? Because I know you do this more often.
Right. So all I did was just save up 25K and then I started trading with it.
Exactly, that's the best option. Uh, I
It's
think
not the
that's good.
only option. You can
Nah,
make 25, but you're gonna
yeah.
have to be the one hell of a trader to take like $1,000 account or a $5,000 car account and
Mhm.
turn it into 25. And that's the thing. That's the goal for most people, right? Like I'm
Right.
starting off with this amount and I want to expand. And there are people that have done it. Don't get me wrong.
No,
It's
definitely.
just not me or you.
Nah, I make good profits,
You
but
make
not
a
that
profit,
much.
but I don't think 25K amount.
Nah, that's too much. That's way too much. But anyways, yeah. So another option is that you have to be mindful of the trades that you're doing. So make sure that you don't trade consecutively, like day trade consecutively within the 5 days or within 5 days. It can be from Wednesday to next Wednesday. So it has to be 5 day, five
Hmm.
trading days, but and so on forth. Now another option is swing trading. Swing trading is a really good option if you can find the right stock to trade. Swing options can help you a lot not to fall into these regulations and limitations.
Right.
So
Hmm.
you won't be able to trade, by the way, for like 7 days. I think I forgot how long it blocked me in my account,
For a month
but
after you get
after
triggered.
you get flagged, yeah.
So yeah, the first one after you get the first flag, they restrict you from day trading for 90 days, I believe.
Oh, 90 days.
And
Yeah.
then after the second one, we've never I don't know, I've never gotten to the second one, but I believe it's I think they either extend that period to a longer, like 6 months, or they just liquidate your account.
Yeah. So what that means is that they just send you back the money. They say, "Hey, just there. We
Peace.
cannot take anymore. Peace."
We're done.
And yeah, and also another thing too is that it's gonna show on your like on your portfolio. So if you try to, no, I mean in your taxes and stuff. So if you go and apply for another brokerage, it's gonna be shown on your social security that you were kicked out as a pattern day trader, unless you have a like a certificate of like a financial industry, like a financial what's it called, like a financial institution that that you are the day trader,
Mhm.
but you cannot trade. You cannot trade for your own benefit. That's the only thing.
So yeah,
That,
you have to be really diligent about this.
hmm
Again, I would say one of the best ways, and like it was something that I kind of just stumbled upon, and I didn't even like. I saw the option there in the beginning, but I didn't even think it was anything. Was to actually
hmm
get yourself a cash account if you want to be
Okay.
somebody that's more of a like trading consistently and trying to build that habit. I mean, you don't even have to put in any money. You can do it with
Paper money.
paper trading, but there's something to the method of putting some skin in the game, because
hmm
when you have money on the line, that's when you're actually gonna double down on trying to become better, as opposed to just leaving it there and hopefully it works out or not. I mean, people still do that with their actual money, but you
hmm
probably have a better tendency of actually actively managing it and being a little bit better. Um, so I would say that that's one good method. Also,
Absolutely.
you can, again, like you were saying, you can swing trade, find good trades, or you can just completely disregard that and go more into investing and building out a
hmm
portfolio, and just disregard the like day trading or trading in general, simply because
hmm
there's a lot that you have to manage. There's a lot that you have to be paying attention to, and sometimes it can get overwhelming, especially as if you're in school or you're working all the time, and it's not really something sustainable for you to be checking your phone or be on your laptop and then simultaneously doing your job, bouncing
Right.
back and forth. So I would say, find what works for you, but those are some of the options available.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why the concept about day traders, they usually have more money, like more than 25K, or they have the limitation. So after their trades in the 5 week period, they usually don't trade anymore because that's why they try to maximize, the best trades that they can get. That's why, like, if day trading was so like legal and possible to do, everybody would be like taking a position on like 10 cents and sell it by like 11 cents just to make a profit right there. But it's not as simple as that. Like there are regulations and things that you need to follow, else you get flagged. Not being flagged once. Sad
I
story.
feel like it's the same, but
It's a learning
it's a
experience. I didn't
experience.
know about it. Yeah. Good. That's something I actually wish I knew before I started trading. Like nobody told me that that was a
Yeah, but
thing.
I feel like that everybody kind of comes across that just simply because
Yeah.
they didn't do enough research to figure that out. But
Correct.
once
Yeah.
you see it, like you get the restriction, and the first time you can't day trade for like 3 months or
It is
something like
90.
that,
Yeah, it is 90 days.
and this goes past. It goes past pretty quick, and then you can again in that period of time you can readjust, or you can open a cash account, or
You can
paper
meditate.
trade, swing trade, build out a portfolio. There's a lot of things you can do. You're not
Absolutely.
just because you're restricted. That doesn't mean there's aren't other options.
Oh,
You got to
exactly.
become creative. You got to think outside the box.
Definitely, you have. Moving on into some updates. The market. Uh, well, we making this podcast after the market closed today. Everything was on green beautifully, except for the year one treasure and oil that fell drastically. We
Did
talk
it?
about that.
I don't even pay attention.
Well, yeah, they dropped. Oil dropped like 25%. But we talked about. Yeah, actually, we mentioned this on Friday. Remember that there were like arguments about like restricting.
Recently?
Yeah, good. So
Okay.
that,
No. All right.
other
Keep
than
going.
that, there's some controversial issues going on with the UK and the European Union. Something that it's been happening since. like 2016 or so. Because I remember
Hmm.
it's being talked about like breaking out from the European Union and stuff. So
Oh,
that's some
Brexit.
yeah Brexit yeah. So that and right now for because of that and because of Rona and all of the aspects, uh, the UK is going through harsh economic issues. The vaccine, talking about coronavirus, the vaccine, the US, I mean the FDA,
Hmm.
is expected to vote on approving Pfizer and biotech vaccine for emergencies use only. It
Hmm.
could be administered to Americans the next day, and I mean, and
Mm.
it could be administered on us on emergency cases only though. And if you guys remember, some Democrats they want to show face that it works and whatever, and they were trying to, and they're gonna take the vaccine publicly.
Right.
What? Imagine they just vaccine water. That would be hilarious.
Very good.
Yo, bro, that can happen. I'm not gonna lie. But anyways, so that other than that, there's more exciting news actually about IPOs this week. Guess who's IPOing?
So
Finally,
Airbnb is number one,
yes, sir.
and I got another one. DoorDash.
On DoorDash, yes.
Hmm.
So what do you call Airbnb, one of the US most valuable private startups, as you might imagine, is expecting to start trading on Thursday at the market cap more than $31 billion. And then we
Hmm.
have the food delivery giant DoorDash could be worth even more than that when it goes public on Wednesday. So we have two big companies that I can wait to see how they.
There
There's
is
a lot
definitely
of
another one. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it.
there's definitely a lot of hype behind these two companies, especially Airbnb. And now that Amazon actually came up with a similar idea to Airbnb's Explorer page, we want to see how the competition goes. How it goes. Like Airbnb is a more privatized, not privatized, like a more personal level kind of touch because of their business model. Whereas Amazon, it all leads to their e-commerce main core business strategies. So whatever they create, it can be like experiences, which is out now for traveling, whether it's food, whether it's pharmacy, it all comes down to their e-commerce and delivery core business. But whereas Airbnb, it has more focus on just traveling and creating the best experience for you. I love Airbnb. Every time that I travel to a new country, I use Airbnb because it's cheaper. You get to know the people, like local people, and they can recommend you things. That was literally me in Cuba. Airbnb
Hmm.
everywhere. So it's awesome, and I might invest in Airbnb actually.
Yeah.
There's definitely a lot of hype for it to like end up on green on Thursday.
So here's a little thing. I watched a
Mhm.
video that kind of set the tone for both of these stocks upcoming or the
Wait,
IPOs
can you
upcoming.
send me this?
Zip Trader, the one from Zip Trader.
Oh yeah.
Well, in any case, so the here's the thing. So
Mm-hmm.
with Airbnb, right now we got hit pretty hard in terms of like the travel industry, right? Now it's
Right.
slowly beginning to recover. But there is something to be said about the fact that maybe Airbnb is going to take a little bit longer to kind of start taking off simply because of the fact that the whole industry in itself
Mm-hmm.
has been stagnated. While with DoorDash, the
Oh,
delivery and
okay.
food industry kind of just boomed during this pandemic because there was so much ordering going on with these
Mm-hmm.
online services, right? So I would say that there's probably going to be a good potential for DoorDash to kind of continue a run after IPOing, but at certain point it's going to be capped out simply because it's
Mm-hmm.
already ran up so much and they're IPOing at such a high price.
Right.
Like their nearest competitor would be like
Uber
what
Eats.
Uber Eats or a Grubhub, and these guys are valued at half the price that they're going to start off at.
Mm-hmm. But let's
So
not forget, Postmates is only on California, if I'm not mistaken.
no, we can do Postmates here.
Oh yeah. Oh, there's one company that only works on California. I thought that was Postmates. My bad. I
No.
could have been wrong. But
In
okay,
any
go ahead.
case, so with like Airbnb, there's a slower growth, but there's probably a bigger cap going
Yeah.
forward simply because once industry and travel starts opening up more and more, that was a really good that was a really good business that kind of was just taking off.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason why it stagnated was simply because we got hit with the pandemic. Once people were able to travel more, like you just said, with your Cuba trip, that's going to happen more and more often. So I would
Hmm.
say that, be diligent about the positions you're going to take with these guys if you're going to add them to your long-term portfolios. But I would say that probably Airbnb has a longer term growth
Yep.
relative to DoorDash.
I absolutely agree with you on that. That's why I brought Amazon to like as a competitor of Airbnb, because like they're going into that kind of experience, traveling with the customers. At the end of the day, all they're trying to do is sell your product, whereas Airbnb, all they're trying to do is sh- um, sell you
Sell an experience.
sell you an experience, but also creating jobs. Let's not forget
Hmm.
about that. That's a very good business to be on.
Yep.
But yeah, other than that, I think. Wait, hold on. I think I had something else to talk about. Oh, the stimulus talks picked up momentum last week after top Democrats supported a compromise bill with a much lighter price tag. At the same time, lawmakers must pass the spending measures at the are bent a government shutdown on Friday. Oh, interesting. We'll see what
Wait, what
happens.
was that? There's a government shutdown happening again?
Yeah, it happened already.
Oh. Oh, look
Measures
at
to
that. I didn't even
advance.
notice.
What happened? Yeah, that's crazy. I actually didn't know about this. Economic data. We will learn inflation with the consumer price index reading on the Thursday. Well, Thursday seems like the best day. What day is
A lot of
Thursday?
IPOs.
Yeah,
Ninth, I
the
believe. Oh, no. 10. 10.
inflation. And then I had well, what was it?
You said what day is the
Uh,
ninth? It's a Wednesday.
no, no, I'm good. I'm good. Um,
Hmm.
shit. Wait. Everything else. Today is the anniversary of the attack of Pearl Harbor in 1941. Wow, that's interesting.
RIP.
And yeah, other than that, Tesla released its first diversity report. Black employee account for 4% of leadership positions, and women make up 17 of those leadership positions.
That's something else we didn't talk about. Tesla's crazy run today.
I haven't peaked sales Tesla at all.
So right now it is sitting at 641.
What?
Yeah. It hit
That's
peaks of
insane.
648 today.
Oh shit, that's
Um,
crazy.
so we ran up 7%.
Uh huh.
And obviously, like a lot of Tesla's a lot of hype, but simultaneously they do provide a lot of
What?
value.
No, they
Um,
definitely do.
there was a recent analyst report that bumped. I don't ever think it was Goldman Sachs that bumped them up to like 780. They're supposed to be their evaluation moving forward, but I mean we're at 640, 780. We were having a lot of resistance breaking 600, and today it broke it and just went well beyond that. So again, with the pressure of being added into the S&P 500, there's going to be a lot of ETFs and index funds that are going to be buying Tesla just because they're
Mm,
made to buy the S&P 500. And
correct.
Tesla is going to be one of those biggest. I think it's going to be its biggest addition ever, because right now they're almost at 600 billion in terms of market cap, so they're getting there,
It's
right?
insane. Very, very
They're
insane.
they're pushing for the $1 trillion, which is where Amazon and Apple are right now. So if
Yeah,
these guys can
but the thing is that Amazon and Apple, it took them like 2 decades to get there,
longer,
and
much
Tesla,
longer.
yeah, even longer. Yeah, but Tesla is a baby company, and the fact that it was able to reach this point is amazing. That's why Elon Musk, I salute you.
So
But
yeah,
yeah,
definitely be looking out for that. We have a lot of buying pressure still going on. Where I mean, I don't think it's gonna stop until maybe I believe 21st is when they get added in, and
right.
I think after that, that's when more ETFs and index funds are gonna buy them because they're just
Hmm.
gonna start buying S&P 500. So we could see this thing continue to keep climbing until like January probably.
This holiday seasons are going to be interesting ones in my opinion. There's a lot going on, pandemics, good news, presidential
Hmm.
elections. I want to see how Q1 ends up happening. It's going to be
It's
an
gonna be
interesting
an
numbers.
interesting year.
Yeah. Well, 2020 is almost over.
We
We
made
will
it.
see you next year. Nah, man,
Aliens are
I have
coming.
good ass. Yo, this is it for today, guys. I will see you tomorrow, either morning or night, depending on what time I go to sleep
Probably
tonight.
maybe afternoon or evening. Let's see.
Yeah,
Need some sleep.
maybe.
You need some sleep, bro.
Vibes. All right, yo. Peace out.
See you tomorrow.